summer so far? Well, every Sunday we're going to be spending some time at the beach. And while we're here, we're going to be looking at stories of Jesus on the beach. Did you know that he spent time on the beach? Well, before we get into our story, let's do a little bit of some background knowledge. Which beach did Jesus spend time at? Now, if you didn't know, Jesus spent a lot of his time around the Sea of Galilee. And it says in Matthew chapter 4 that he even lived in a village just on the shore called Capernaum. Now, this little village wasn't much, but there were people there that would listen to him tell about God's grace and amazing power. And it was here that Jesus found his first disciple.
Jesus began to tell people about God. He knew he had a lot of work to do, and he went to find some helpers. As Jesus was walking along the seashore, he saw some fishermen. Jesus called to them,
"Come, follow me. I will make you fishers of people."
Right away, they left their boats and followed Jesus. Their names were Peter, Andrew, James, and John. Later, Jesus met a tax collector named Matthew. His job was to get the tax money from the people and give it to the king. Matthew quit his job to follow Jesus too. Jesus chose some more people. Their names were Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, and another man named James. Thaddeus, Simon, and Judas joined them too. Jesus now had 12 new followers. He called them his disciples. Jesus taught them about God's love.
Jesus' first disciples were Simon, his brother Andrew, James, and John. And these became four of Jesus' best friends. What were their jobs? Did you get it? Well, of course, Peter, Andrew, James, and John were all fishermen. They spent their lives on the Sea of Galilee. But when they met Jesus, something happened. Their lives were changed. What did Jesus say to them? Can you remember? "Come follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Now that might not make much sense to us, but for Simon, Andrew, James, and John, they spent their lives fishing for fish. And they understood that Jesus was calling them to become his disciples, to follow him, and to change from catching fish in the water to changing people's lives for God. And you know what? God calls us to do the same thing. Our beach makes for this week is to make a fishing rod and some fish to play with. And here is a video of how to do it. You can also find the instructions in the description box below. So first you will need to find a stick of some kind. This is just a piece of bamboo I had lying around from a previous craft, but it can be any stick. It doesn't even need to be wood, it could be a plastic or metal one if you have it. You'll also need to find some string or wool. It doesn't have to be anything special, whatever you have. The next thing you'll need to find are some paper clips. Now, it's important that these are clean paper clips, so if you don't know where they've been, I suggest you give them a wash. And that's important because we're going to be using these in something that we can eat. Because we're not just going to do a paper fishing game, we're going to be doing a sweets fishing game. So grab hold of these rainbow belts from places like Co-op or Tesco's or Sainsbury's, and we're going to be cutting our fish out of these to make it a lot more fun. And the last thing that you will need to get hold of is a pair of scissors, and make sure these are clean also, so give those a wash before we start. So to make our fishing rod, we're going to take our stick and our string, and we're going to tie a knot on the end of our stick, and if it has a tendency to slide around, just grab some sellotape and stick it down. You can choose how long you make your string, but on the other end, once you've cut it, you want to tie a paper clip onto it. Before you tie it, bend it open and tie it to the smaller loop of the paper clip. Now, if you are having trouble, like I seem to do, you can ask a grown-up to help you tie the knots onto the paper clip. So there is our fishing rod. Now, if you think this is going to be too difficult to fish with, you could also use a pipe cleaner and it'll be a lot easier to do our fishing. So just bend it onto the stick and onto the paper clip. Okay, we're going to take our sweets, grab one out, and we're going to cut it into 3. And then we're going to very carefully cut a fish shape out of this section. So take your time, try and get a very basic fish shape, and there's no rush, and you can do this as many times as you like. So here you go, here's a little fish. And the great thing about cutting these is that you can eat the extras. So it's your choice to do as many as you like. So here's my little fishies. And I also did some men, because we're talking about fishes of men, aren't we? And I had a bit of an accident there. But okay. So when you've got as many as you like, grab your clean paper clips, bend them open, and then thread your fish onto the thin part of the paper clip, like this. And do that as many times as you have. Okay, so here they are, and this is how you play the game. Lay them down nice and flat, grab your fishing rod, and you're going to try and hook one paper clip onto the other. And it's not as easy as it looks. So good luck. And once you catch them, you can eat them. There are 3 quick points that I want to make about this story. The first one, I'm going to use my index finger because I'm going to point to myself, and I'm going to remember that Jesus calls us to be his disciples, just like Simon, Andrew, James and John. He wants us, even with our mistakes, even when we do things wrong, he wants us to follow him. The second one, Jesus wants us to trust and have faith in him, even when we don't understand what he's doing. I wonder if those disciples knew what Jesus was asking of them when he called them away from their jobs, from the things that they were really used to. Jesus does that for us too. He calls us out of the place that we feel safe and into an amazing life with him. So we have trust in Jesus. And the third thing, well, we have to do things Jesus' way, even when it doesn't make sense, even when it goes against what other people are telling that we should do. When we follow Jesus, when we're his disciples, that leads us on the right path. He wants us. We have to have trust and faith in him, and we have to do things his way. So when you hear this Bible verse again, I hope you remember this story. Come follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. Jesus is asking us that same thing. Come and be his disciples. But remember those 3 things that he calls us to do when we become his disciples. It's not always easy. It can be a really tough journey, but it's an amazing one, and it is worth it. Well, thanks for joining me. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you again next Sunday at the beach.